As if that was the player that came to my head. Oh, no. I do not know who that is.
Welcome to the Football 1% quiz. This is the quiz where you'll be given 20 different footballers to name, and they get increasingly harder as the video goes along. And the hints in the name: the last player that we give you to name, only 1% of football fans will know who they are. Contestants will also be given 2 lifelines, the option to skip a player if they don't know them, or the option where I reveal the player's initials as a hint. Make sure to play along in the comments down below, but without any further ado, let's jump in. Okay, Sam, so you are taking part in the Football 1% quiz today. How are you feeling?
A little bit nervous, I'm not going to lie. This is really going to test my knowledge, so here we go.
Yeah, and we want you guys to play along in the comments down below as well. Let us know what % you managed to get to in the quiz. But without any further ado, let's jump in. Okay, so first player, we've got the 100% player. This one, it's a bit of a tap-in, isn't it?
Yeah, easy tap in, Mohamed Salah.
Straight away, no messing about with that one. Okay, we've got the 95% player up next. I think you'll be fine with this one.
Yeah, absolutely. Leaving Man City at the end of the season, Kevin De Bruyne.
Yeah, it's a bit of a shame about him leaving the Premier League, isn't it? Where do you reckon he could go next? Is he going to be going Saudi, MLS, somewhere like that, do you reckon?
Potentially. He's been talking a lot about his family, though, so maybe that wouldn't quite work. Maybe he wants to, having young kids, maybe he wants to keep them in schooling in the UK, but who knows? Who wouldn't want to go to Saudi and earn a load of money before they end their career? That's all I'm saying.
Okay, we've got the 90% player up next. Starting to get a little bit more tricky, but I'm sure you'll still be fine with this one.
Yeah, a little bit more tricky, but that is Luis Diaz of Liverpool.
Absolutely spot on. All right, 85% next up. What are you saying for this?
Well, that's got to be Arsenal's captain, Martin Odegaard.
Yeah, easy. You're flying through the early rounds here. Okay, up to the 80%. I feel like for some people they may go out here, but you being a Chelsea fan, I think this one's a bit of a tap-in, really, isn't it?
Yeah, it is a little bit of a tap-in. The Chelsea ones that are the ones I'm most worried for, but not this one, Nicholas Jackson.
Yeah, absolutely spot on. Making good progress so far. We're down to the 75% player. I'm sure you'll know this one as well.
Yeah, that is Mr. Alejandro Garnacho.
Yeah, absolutely spot on. Okay, so for the 70% player, we're going to the other side of Manchester. Do you know this one?
I think I do. I believe I do. Now, there are a few names in the Manchester City team, like a few of the youngsters who are just starting to pop up, whose maybe names I don't recognise, but I'm pretty certain, if I am correct, this is Rico Lewis.
Yeah, you're absolutely spot on there. I feel like that's the first one where you've maybe had to think about it a little bit. It wasn't just instinctive, but we're on 70% now, so you'll take that, won't you?
Yeah, definitely.
Down to the 65% player. Now, for some, I think this one will be pretty easy, actually. But what are you saying?
I think this is pretty easy, and I believe also. Side note, really like that Crystal Palace kit. Little side note there. But I believe that is Eberechi Eze.
Yeah, you're absolutely spot on there. No shenanigans with that whatsoever. All right, next up, going down to the 60% player. We're testing your knowledge of all of the league, really, here. We're going to Everton for this one next up. Do you know the player, though? That's the question.
Of course. Former Burnley man, James Tarkowski.
Absolutely spot on, yeah. Thought that maybe that might catch a few out, but he's recognisable, isn't he?
Yeah, absolutely. And, his antics in the Merseyside derbies are enough to catch your eye as it is.
All right, Sam, we are down to the 55% player. Have a feeling that you'll be okay with this one. What are you saying?
Yeah, I think we're sort of getting to the territory now where if I go out now and I use a lifeline, I think I'm kind of happy with myself, but I don't need to use one now. That is Alex Iwobi.
Yeah, absolutely spot on. I think you've done well to get to this point, smash them all out, not use any lifelines. I think the next few are where you're going to maybe start considering them. But yeah, absolutely spot on with that one. Okay, so we are now down to the 50% player. Once again, feel like maybe try to catch you out a little bit, throw a cheeky Chelsea player in there, but I feel like you'll be all right with this one. What are you saying?
Yeah, that was a bit of a sigh of relief when I saw the Chelsea kit pop up. That is Kiernan Dewsbury Hall.
Yeah, absolutely spot on. Not played that regularly in the Premier League for you this season, am I right in saying that? What have you made of him so far in the sort of limited time you've seen him?
Well, I think he's only had, as of recording, 2 Premier League starts, which isn't
Wow.
enough to be able to gauge a player entirely. When we signed him, thought it made sense because Enzo Maresca coming from Leicester, well, that rhymes. With him doing that, that was, I think a good idea. You bring someone who knows your idea, but yeah, he's just not had the opportunity yet.
All right, next up we are down to the 45% player. How's your West Ham knowledge?
Yeah, it's not too bad, not too bad. I recognise this man, and the reason I recognise him is because one of the first seasons he joined the Premier League, if you're an FPL fan, you'll remember that he scored quite a few goals and got quite a few points, and that is Thomas Souček. And he was quite the little bargain on fantasy football the first season he joined.
Yeah, I remember that well, to be fair. He was absolutely outrageous that season for what he cost, but absolutely spot on. And you're flying through even after the 50%. You're doing well here.
Oh, yeah, I'm starting to feel the pressure. I'm shaking a little bit,
All right, down to the 40% player now. Nottingham Forest have been absolutely flying in the Premier League this season, but do you recognise this player?
See, this one's a little bit more difficult as well, because the image you've used doesn't quite have him square on as the rest have.
That's all part. It's all part of the mind games.
I know. I can see that one. But what does help me is he's been in my fantasy team for quite a while, and I'd be disappointed with myself if I didn't get this one, particularly with how well Nottingham Forest are doing this season, and that is Anthony Elanga, I believe.
Yeah, spot on. Tried to catch you out there a little bit with a little bit of a cheeky photo, but yeah, you are spot on. You're doing well. All right, we're dropping down another 5% here. We're going into the relegation battle of Premier League players here. How is your knowledge for this one?
Now, this is the first one I'm looking at, and I'm thinking that I am going to have to use a lifeline for. And the reason I say that is, first of all, it's Southampton. Obviously, haven't been great this season whatsoever. I have a few names that are kind of like kicking around in my head, but I wouldn't. It's one of those where I just kind of can't think of the person's name, and it could come to me and it could be right, but I don't think I'm going to get there. So I think for this one, I think I'm going to use my skip because
Okay.
yes, I think I'm going to use my skip. I'm going to use that one because I think if I get the initials, I'll either get it or I won't get it, and then I'll have to use the skip anyway. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes perfect sense. So you're choosing to skip this one.
Yes.
So you have gone through to the next round. Just out of curiosity, I'm interested to see if you would know if I gave you the initials. The initials that I would have given you would have been CA. Would that have helped you?
Yeah, is it Cameron Archer?
It is Cameron Archer.
Oh.
I had a feeling he was one of the names that was in your head there, but
Yeah.
you've used your skip. But yeah.
You know what threw me off? What really threw me off was the fact that I couldn't quite remember if Cameron Archer was at Southampton. And if I remember correctly, he was at Sheffield United for a bit, wasn't he?
Yeah.
And that was what was throwing me off. I was like, that looks like Cameron Archer. So I just couldn't get it in my head. Oh, yeah. That was a good one. I like that one. I can't believe that. I cannot believe it.
Yeah, that's what the skip's there for.
Yeah,
that's what the skip's there for.
Yeah, that's what it's for, yeah. So
Okay, so Cameron Archer managed to catch you out. What about this one?
So this might not be as bad as I think it is. I'm just zooming in on my phone to see the image a little bit better. So Brighton, I believe this could be entirely wrong, but I believe this young man used to play for Leeds United, and I believe he signed pretty recently, if I've got that correct. I know there's a couple of Leeds players who left at the end of last season when they missed out on promotion, but I believe, oh God, what's his name? I'm trying to think of the ones who have left Leeds and are now in the Premier League. I think it's Jorginho Rutzer. Is that his name? Rutzer? I believe that's who it is.
I like the working out there, and you are spot on. It is Jorginho Rutter. Yeah, he did make the move from Leeds to Brighton for quite a bit of money over the summer. Yeah, you've done well to get that one. Fair play.
Yeah. I'm quite pleased with that one. I'm quite pleased with that. That would have annoyed me if I'd have not got it.
All right, we are now down to the 25% player. So only a quarter of Premier League fans will know this player. What are you saying? Obviously, we're looking at a player from Brentford here. How's your knowledge with them?
I'm going to go with not good. My lack of FIFA play. If I still played FIFA, this would be one of them where you'd be like, oh, I know who
You'd
that
have a
is
tap
because
in.
of whatever. Yeah, but I'm not sure. I'm trying to sort of like picture in my head or as many of the players that I can think of who play in like the front three, the back four. You know, maybe I could get there. It's definitely looking like a lifeline. Yeah, I think I'm going to have to use my lifeline for this one at 25%.
Yeah.
It's going to put me in a bit of a predicament for the final few, but we'll see how far we can get. I'm going to use my lifeline. I'm not going to use the initials.
Yeah, so you get the initials here, and this one will... I mean, he's got a few names, so this one will either give it to you straight away or you just won't know it, because I'm about to give you a few letters here, which could help you out, it could not help you out. But the initials you're looking for here are SVDB.
SVDB. SVDB. Which I'm assuming is Van der, right?
You've got a bit. You're halfway there. You're halfway there to his name.
He's got to be. He's the most Dutch thing in the world. Do I just take a punt with this and just try and go and try and come up with a Dutch surname myself? Is that the technique with this? Honestly, my brain is drawing a blank on this one. You might have got me here, Ben. You might have got me. Like I say, I could take a punt and potentially get it right, but I don't know. SVDB. Something Van der... I mean, the word Berg comes to my head, but I feel like that's just a generic pro club's name. So it's... Yeah. I'm going to take your silence as Berg might be right. So I'm going to...
You could be cooking here. Just for the sake of you doing that working out there, I'm going to give it to you. Sepp van den Berg was the player you were looking for.
I thought it was. I thought I'd made it up. I was like, I had it in my head of either Sepp or like something like Steph, like Steffi Mavadidi's name. Like I was thinking of like something like that, but I thought that doesn't make sense. But of course, it's Dutch. It's more likely to be.
Yeah, I'm going to give it to you. I'm going to be a nice host and give you that one because you did eventually get there towards his surname, and I think we can count that for the 25% player. So we move on. Okay, so we now get into the 20% player, and obviously from this point onwards, you're at a lifeline, so you are on your own here. But what are you saying for this one?
Right. I am... I feel like, because I've just named Steffi Mavadidi, all I can think of is him. And I don't know if that's the biggest coincidence in the world that he's the next player, but it's Mavadidi. I think I've either massively overthought this, and I've just gone, oh, that must be him because I can't recognise him outside of his old FIFA cards. But I'm going to go with Steffi Mavadidi. I think that might be right.
What I will say to the audience here is this quiz was completely prepared ahead of time. We're not doing it on the fly or anything like that. And that absolutely is Steffi Mavadidi. And when you mentioned him in the last round, I was like, what's going on here? But yeah, fair play. You've managed to fluke that one.
No way! As if that wasn't the player that came to my head when I was trying to think of Sepp van den Berg's name. Steffi Mavadidi. And that's brilliant. That is fantastic. I don't know how we've done that.
No, fair play. You've smashed that round. So now it's really a question of how deep into this quiz can you go? We're at the 15% player here. What are you saying?
Oh, right. I think that is an Everton fullback. Obviously, I know it's Everton. I can see the kit. I'm not daft. I think that's an Everton fullback.
Do you have a name in your head?
I think the name I've got in my head is Patterson. I think that's who that might be. Do I have to give you a first name? Is the Van der Berg thing going to let me not use a first name, or do I need to come up with a first name as well? I think I have a first name, but
yeah, it's one to ask in the comments down below for future videos. I think. Does the contestant need to give both names? I think I would accept just a surname though, but if you do think you have a first name, throw it out there as well.
Okay, so I think his first name's Nathan, but I think definitely his surname is Patterson. I said definitely now, that's even worse. But I think it's Patterson. I think that's who it is.
Yeah, you were absolutely spot on with both them. It is Nathan Patterson, so fair play. The 15% player, you have gone ahead and got it. So working with no lifelines here, but you're still making your way through.
Oh, I don't know how I got that. Just sometimes when you see a face and name comes to your head, that was it there. That was it.
So now we've only got 3 players left. Can you get them all? We are really testing your Premier League ball knowledge here. We're down to the 10% player. Any names coming to mind with this one?
Unfortunately not. I've not watched too much of Ipswich this season, other than when they have played Chelsea. So unfortunately not. Yeah, I think this is going to be me out, to be honest with you. I think this is going to be me out. I mean, I'll take it at 10%. I've literally got no names that are floating around my head. So, for the sake of it, you could entertain me with their initials, but I'm going to say that I am out on this one. I do not know who that is. You've got me.
Yeah. That is fair. We'll be interested in the comments down below if you can name this one. Interested if you do get it off the initials. CO. I can also give you the hint that he played for Luton in the Premier League last season as well.
Oh. That felt like it sparked something then. I'm not sure it did. I'm not sure it did. No, I feel like it sparked something. I feel like it's probably one of those where I might recognise the name if you were to say it, but no, completely blank brain.
That is fair. You are tapping out at the 10% zone. This one was Chidozie Ogbene. Not sure if you would have known that one anyway, but...
No, I don't think I'd have got to that, unfortunately.
Yeah, that is fair. And just for the sake of the audience who is playing along at home, we will go through the last 2 players as well. I'm interested to see if you would have got either of these right. So we had a bit of a debacle last time with the last Brentford player. I'm interested to know if you would have got this one at 5%.
He has a very familiar face. That is what I'm going to say straight away. I'm at this current moment in time, I'm just trying to think of who has dark hair and plays for Brentford. The person whose name is in my head is JanElt. So, is it by any chance JanElt?
It is absolutely that. So you've got the 5% player. Fair play.
Where did that come from?
You've pulled that out of absolutely nowhere, obviously. Yeah. Playing for just pride at this point, but 5%. I'd be interested to know if you guys in the comments down below got that one as well.
Where did that come from? Wow. That to me was I think because he's maybe been in the Premier League a little bit longer, maybe that's why. But yeah, it just came out of nowhere, that one.
And then this right here would have been your 1% question. And I can tell you something about this player. As of recording, I believe they've played 1 minute of Premier League football this season. So we really are talking about a 1% player here.
Blimey, yeah, that is a 1% player. I feel like, in my opinion, no, you've ramped that up from a 25% to a 1%. I don't know who that is. You could have photoshopped one of your mates' faces on a bit there, and that could have been them. So I don't have a clue. I'm intrigued to see if people in the comments are able to get that.
Yeah, we'd be interested to know if people in the comments do know this one. If you don't want to know, then silence your video for just a second. But that player at the 1% was Alfie Pond. I'd be very impressed if anyone in the comments gets that. I feel like it will surely only be Wolves fans who know that one. But that will wrap it up for this 1% quiz. Sam, I feel like you gave a pretty good account of yourself there.
Yeah, I don't think I did too badly. Not too badly at all, even with the Chelsea players, which were making me a little bit worried. But yeah, I'm pretty pleased with that. Pretty pleased with that performance and that Jan out call. Pretty pleased with that.
Yeah, you smashed it with that one. We'd like to know from you guys in the comments down below as well. How did you get on with the 1% quiz? What percentage did you get to? But thank you very much for tuning in, and we'll see you in the next one.